just got to double check all the streams to make sure they're all live. And just got to move my browsers around and stuff. Julie, let me know. Preview broadcast. So we should be live on Periscope.
I got the notification for YouTube and Periscope.
What about Facebook?
I don't get notified for that.
Oh, should be live. Oh my God, John, mute that microphone when you're moving it around. For the love of God. And who's got a fire going? Is there a fire somewhere? What the hell?
The only person I can hear is you.
You can't hear anybody else, Yardley? All right, that is not good. There you go. Holy cats. All right, you cannot hear anybody but me, Yardley. That is not good. Oh, what the hell is going on here? Right here. Oh, I know why. Fucking idiot. All right. Julie, not Julie. John's gone too. Nothing like doing this right before the show. All right, I'm going to play some music. Yard, you tell me.
When you play the Game of Thrones, you win or you die.
Yeah, I can hear it.
All right. Perfect. Sorry, everyone watching us live. We're very unorganized tonight, very unprofessional. Will you apologize for that? Okay, let's see. Just want to make sure we're live on Facebook. We're live on Periscope. We are live on Facebook with 9 viewers. Thank you so much, Armani. Awesome. We are live. 9 viewers. And 10 viewers. Yeah, right, Greg? Awesome. Greg, welcome. Shaina, I hope I said your name right. Randall, welcome back. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Oh, I hate technology.
Technology can be a real pain in the ass. But
like, I'm pretty sure I had my iPad charged 100% and it's died. I don't know how that's possible.
Julie, it was, right?
How can I help you this evening?
Which can you monitor for me, chat-wise? Can you monitor Facebook?
Yeah, I can get into Facebook.
Megan, I'm so glad to have you here.
Why, is Trin not coming?
She's coming, but she's running a little bit behind. And I'll get her in here as soon as she gets here. Pittsburgh, woohoo! Pennsylvania. Cody, what's up? I want to give people shout-outs when they come on here because we always claim to care about the audience, and that's, you know, what.
Well, mom's in the YouTube chat.
Okay, good. So my mom is Janice, Julie, and my mom. We share a mother, obviously. And she's in the YouTube chat right now. So thank you, Mom, for doing that. We're trying to put moderators in. Obviously, we're not going to be able to get to everybody's feedback on this episode because we try to keep it, well, except for last week, we're trying to keep it short. And we're going to bring in you guys after the season is over. We're going to get you guys in to try to get more of your comments. And I'm going to really, really try hard to do an extra episode this week just for the audience members. All right, Trin is here, so I'm going to unlock. Trin, I'm unlocking so you can jump in. All right. Yes, Nintendo Podcast Life. All right, I'm locking it down. And we're doing this. Right now we're live, so we're live all over the place. Yay. We're not recording the podcast part yet. We're going to do audio check, and then we're going to get started. Struggling with all this stuff here.
Is Yardley here?
He's here. Yep.
Okay.
He's right over here on Skype. And participate in the sports stuff. Try. All right, so we're going to try to keep an eye on the Facebook. We're going to try to keep an eye on everything, Periscope, wherever. Jan, welcome. Aruba. That's awesome. Brody, yeah. Boy, we got a lot of awesome. Danielle, what's up? And that's from Facebook. Who's in YouTube, Jules?
I thought you wanted me to monitor Facebook.
Oh, you're going to monitor Facebook.
We got a ton of people on YouTube, though. Tons
do?
of people on YouTube.
All right, YouTube. Somebody can keep it on YouTube for me. That'd be great, so we can give shout-outs here and there.
It's so cool. I've got it on my TV over here. I got all 4 of us in a box
awesome.
on my TV.
How's it look? Really good?
Looks fantastic.
All right. I'm going to ask Trin to keep it on YouTube, if that's okay, Trin. Okay, awesome. All right, let's do quick mic checks, and then we'll get this party started because we're already late. That's my fault. All right, let's go. Julie, give me a check, please.
Mic check 1 2 1 2. Do you hear my air conditioner? I can turn it off.
No, I don't hear it. All right, Jonathan Stoma Starklover, give me a check.
Check 1 2 1 2.
All right, he's coming in real hot. So, Trin, give me a check, please.
Check 1 2 1 2.
All right, Trin, that's good. John, when you get, give me a check right from where you're sitting.
Check 1 2 1 2.
All right, you just get a little bit closer, but you don't have to get right up on it because you actually have a real powerful voice.
Check 1 2
All right,
1 2.
that's perfect. Just try to remember that. Julie, one more check.
Mic check 1 2 1 2.
All right, turn your gain up 1 notch. Just 1. No, 2. Make it 2. And Yardley, give me a mic check, please.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
All right, I'm going to turn you up a little bit, Yardley, because you're a little quiet.
All right.
All right, give me your check now, sir.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
All right, that's a little bit better. Because I got everyone on a gate limiter, and it is what it is. I haven't had a chance to really experiment with it. Now everything's hooked up to the noise gate limiter. How awesome is this? What a great show. All right, so let's get to it. We're pretty much ready to go. I'm going to start the podcast. I'm going to intro you guys, and I'm just going to explain everything to the audience and get us rolled in here. It's like magic. All right, so here comes the music. Get everyone prepped up.
When you play the Game of Thrones, you win or you die.
Warning, this podcast contains explicit language and spoilers. This is Behind the Iron Throne, your unofficial Game of Thrones podcast.
Okay, you guys ready? It's going to be exciting. All right. In 3, 2, what episode is this anyway? 207? 207, right? 22. Just got to double check myself. All right, here we go. In 3, 2, 1. Well, hello, welcome back, boys and girls. Hashtag BTIT. For the win, our nerd army of Game of Thrones enthusiasts. I'm your host, Chris Gray, and this is episode 207, recorded April 22nd. We're going to be talking about Season 8's Episode 2, A Night of the Seven Kingdoms. But let's get my co-hosts in here, and we'll go over some quick announcements. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, you know him, you love him, you hate him. I don't care what you do, because he is an awesome dude. He is Lord Duckdarian, keeper of the Wicker People. What's up, John, from the north?
Chris, I'm doing great. I can't wait for this episode.
Oh, yeah, it's going to be off the charts. All right, next up, we have the lovely and talented my sister, Julie Gray. What's up, kid, from Hockey Hour?
What's up, everybody? How's everybody feeling after that freaky, weird episode? Let's get to this.
It's going to be awesome. All right, next up, he is the man who rides around in the Millennium Falcon, picking me up. We go looking for chicks, looking for that big old orgy. He has a Valyrian steel Gatling gun. He is the one, the only, the militant marker. Yardley, what's up, pal?
Hey, what's up, Chris? I'm doing good. Ready to dive in.
And, of course, last but not least, we have the woman who can actually talk to dragons while riding on one. She throws grenades, and she's a secret agent. Welcome, Trin.
Hi, guys. Super glad to be here. Love this episode.
Okay, so real quick, we got a lot of stuff to talk about. We're going to try to keep it under 2 hours, God willing. Let's pray to the Lord of Lights for lore. First, I want to say thank you, everybody who is joining us live on Periscope, on BehindTheIronThrone.tv, our YouTube channel, on our Facebook Live, and, of course, on our new platform that we're working on, Get Vocal, VOKL.com, where we are live, and it's controlling everything we do. I want to thank the team at Get Vocal for making this program available to us. It really really makes things easy. And you can join us live there or anywhere. We'll try to get to your comments if we can. It's a little bit difficult when we do the short episodes, but please stick around because if we have time, we'll do an after show. We'll read it. And of course, when we're done reviewing this season, we're going to have longer episodes just after. And I'm even toying with the idea, and I really can't commit to this, but I want to do a second episode this week before we go to Ice and Fire Con, where it's just about you guys, the audience, giving us your comments, and we'll play them and we'll read them for you on the podcast and whatever. Because I really want to have your guys' voice out there in the podcast community. It means a lot to us. So that being said, welcome to us live, and thank you for bearing with us. And of course, if you can't watch live, you can always get the podcast wherever you get your podcast from. And listen on demand. It's like on demand radio. All right. That being said, are there any other mentions that I need to do? I think we're pretty good. So I guess we're going to get right in on this. Wow, what an episode. The intro was really awesome. Wasn't a whole lot of changes except for I think that the Winterfell had like a wall of fire. It looked like it was going around it. I don't know if my co-host noticed that or not. When we go around, I'll see if anyone noticed it. It looked like it just went around Winterfell. I thought it was pretty interesting. Everything else was pretty much the same from the previous intro. The Astroglade looked pretty much the same.
I think the tiles were a little bit different. The blue tiles that are representing how far the Night King has gotten, because it went through the last hearth and a little bit down closer to Winterfell, but not quite all the way.
Okay, cool. I was really looking for differences in the beginning.
Yeah.
Notepad ready to go, writing like a storm. A lot of information in this thing. So let's start with, we're going to talk about Winterfell, Jaime versus Winterfell, Tyrion versus Dany, and Arya versus Gendry, part 1. Yardley, thank you so much for writing up these show notes for us and everyone for partaking and writing in here. Yardley, why don't you lead us in on this particular content?
Yeah, you know what? One of the best things about the beginning of the episode was seeing an unapologetic Jaime Lannister kind of take up for himself to a certain extent. He put himself in a very vulnerable position. And I think a lot of us pretty much thought that somehow Brienne or Tyrion obviously was going to come to his defense. The only thing that I'll say that the scene was lacking, because we know that the showrunners are trying to push this forward as fast as possible, is I figured there'd be a lot more back and forth or wordplay between Dany, Jaime, and Sansa. When Dany was laying her charges to Jaime, of course, he was saying it was war and he wasn't going to apologize and he would do it again for his house. But I also expected him to say, you know what, Dany, the Mad King was crazy. He was going to kill everyone. And oh, yeah, by the way, he killed Sansa's grandfather. You know what I mean? And I thought that it would kind of be like a triangular situation of them throwing barbs back and forth at each other. But I didn't mind the speed of it. But I thought that it was pretty much laid out that Jaime was probably going to survive this encounter. And the only other thing I'll say, and I'll let everybody else dive in, was I think my highlight of the first scenes was probably Arya and the scene with Gendry when he was forging the steel. And it looked like some type of a Harlequin novel of him sticking the hot poker in the in the bucket and was coming up. It was so awkward, but you could tell what they were doing. And then it was the little flirting with Arya, when the eyebrow came up. It actually made me laugh. And I was like, is that supposed to be sexy? Is it supposed to be cute? It came off as awkward, but fun.
No, I agree. And of course, when we opened with Jaime, I had a huge boner. I'm like, yeah, come on. Yeah, let's do this. That's why I'm wearing my my House Lannister shirt. Because I felt like it was Lannister heavy, at least in the beginning.
Yeah.
I was was hoping that we got more of Jaime explaining what happened with the Mad King and how he saved a lot of lives. But just the fact that he was so reserved, I think was pretty telling that this character has changed so much. I was very impressed. And of course, with all the other stuff, but I'm curious. Let's go to Trin and tell me what you thought about these different scenes here.
I thought that you see Dany is very aggressive towards Jaime, and she's followed by Sansa, who totally took over that beginning scene and was the leader of that scene. And Sansa was the one who seemingly pardon Jamie. And John and Danny kind of followed suit with that. And it's funny at the end, Sansa gets up first. She's the first one to stand up and walk. Or I'm sorry, Danny stands up because she's the queen and everybody stands up after her. But Sansa was the first one to walk away. And then I just thought that was sort of telling about Sansa's sort of alpha personality that she has. And then John completely avoids eye contact or talking to Danny and kind of runs away. And then Danny, of course, nearly fires Tyrion because he sucks as an advisor the last 3 seasons. I did notice over and over there were a lot of repeated lines from previous seasons, which really kind of like this whole episode, so many repeated lines in almost every character's time. And it's really reminding the viewers that we have emotional connections with the characters. We have this history with the characters. It's giving us buy-in, before the big doom. But I don't know why they spend so much time on Arya and Gendry, like previous to the sex part. I don't know why they would do that unless there's some kind of longer story to tell after the battle. So I wasn't feeling the Arya Gendry thing. But anyway.
Listen, hey, well, did anyone hear? Remember when Bran was saying the things that we do for love, the kind of
we do for love.
Yeah, the things that we do for love. But it's kind of funny that he would say that because when you looked at the episode in itself, the whole episode was kind of developed around that because you had, of course, Arya, Gendry, their history, a little bit of flirtation earlier on in the days, kind of the fulfillment of a new experience for Arya now. Then you have the Jaime and Brienne. The love might be set up in a different type of way that we might not even understand now or may not fully understand depending on what happens.
Oh, yeah, I'm shipping that. I'm shipping that hardcore. Hell yeah.
John and Danny, of course, they're both doing things for love for whatever reasons from each side. I think that John, I do believe that he's in love with Danny, but I do think that his heart is first with overcoming the Night King. And then, of course, you have Theon and the Starks and that whole 365-degree thing coming back. He came back home because at the end of the day, he loves his surrogate family, so to speak. So I thought that was kind of cool that that's what they did in the show.
I felt like it was a continuation of episode 1. Like a lot of, we had all that that reconnecting, and this was like reconnecting 2.0 with a lot of these characters, and it took it to that level that I think we wanted to see in episode 1. And if they would have cut out some of those scenes, you might have been able to squeeze some of it in there, but I don't want to complain too much. John, what are your thoughts on these different bullet points here?
I love Jamie in this scene.
Wow. Hold on. Let me get him.
Oh, here we go.
Everybody, we're going to rewind that.
We have that recorded now.
Yeah, that's recorded. So that's going to be my ringtone.
In this episode, and I'll get more later on, Jamie's redeemed in my eyes. I can't hate Jamie anymore. I really can't hate Jamie after this episode.
You all heard it here first, folks.
Yeah, holy shit.
I'll say it right here. I do not hate Jamie anymore. He is forgiven. He is redeemed in my eyes. This episode Jamie won me over. He's not apologetic. It doesn't have to be. It was war. Stuff happens in war. I do like that little nudge that Bran did. The things I do for love. I thought that was awesome. Danny is mad at Tyrion. Tyrion messed up again. He's been messing up a lot during this time, but he's also very smart. So, and Gendry and Arya, I love that scene where she's just like throwing the knives and being like, I know the face of death. And she's checking knives and she's like, so my weapon? Yeah, I'll get right on that. So outside of that, Jamie stole this scene.
A lot of people are picking on Tyrion for not having all these answers and stuff. And it kind of bothers me because, think about it. Would any of us do any better if we were in that world, not being able to watch it from the outside?
But it's not the answers. It's the fact that he's messing up. Like he picked the wrong strategy when it came to last season with the with the war, and now and trusting Cersei. No one should have
Oh,
trusted
that
Cersei.
I agree with. And Sansa, it really, this episode was a shine for me with Sansa. I was really happy with her, and I'm starting to not like Danny too much. A lot of good points here. So I'm curious, Julie, what are you thinking about all this stuff?
So there was a couple of takeaways I had from the opening. I kind of had a feeling we were going to get right into the Jamie scene. There wasn't going to be any, build up to it. It was going to be right at it, and that's what we got. I was sure that was what was going to happen, and that's what did happen. I was struck by a lot of things. Number one, Danny very much trying to command and control the environment, at least trying to. But I have to say, I agree with what Trin said, and I agree with what Yardley said, and even what John said. It's not so much Jamie's trying to redeem himself. His explanation to why he killed the Mad King, he just said it was war. I wish that he would have gone in a little detail to that, like, hey, I stopped mass genocide. I stopped innocent people from dying. If you want to call me Kingslayer, if you want to hate me because I did that, because Danny is now all about like freeing slaves and protecting the innocent. And at least that's what she seems like on the surface. So for me, if I were Jamie, I would have said, look, this is why I did it. I'm not going to apologize for it. And he sure as hell didn't apologize for the other stuff that he did, betraying Ned and all that stuff. He said it was war. It's what I did. I was a golden coat, or you know what I mean? Like I was a knight of the gold, whatever the hell it's called. He didn't make an apology for it, which I find admirable, because the thing about him and the thing about Tyrion is what I love about the two of them and their dynamic and the closeness of their relationship. They own their shit and they don't apologize for it. Like if they fuck up, they say they fuck up. This is why I did it. It's why I did it. You're going to kill me? Fine, kill me. But this is why I did it. The one thing that I really, really loved about that particular part was, Brienne jumping into his defense, like right away, like, no, my queen, listen, this guy, and I love the fact that she said, he saved me from being raped. And you could see Danny get a connection with Brienne in that moment because Danny herself was in that predicament as well. So I think that kind of slightly bonded Brienne and Danny a little bit, which I liked. I know she's upset at Tyrion, because he misread his sister and all that stuff, but she has to understand. And I don't think she fully does, and neither do Jamie or Tyrion, that she constantly reinvents her sneakiness and her underhandedness. And even when Jamie said to Tyrion, she lied to me too, that was like Tyrion looked at him like, yeah, that's right. She did lie to you. Like she never does that. So you can tell that the two of them understand that there's something more going on with Cersei, but I really like the scene overall. The whole Gendry Arya thing, I don't even want to go into that, right? I don't even know. Like that's still fucking with my brain, but I did like yeah, I'm not ready. There's just so much there. But I did like the fact that she was just flinging that dragon glass spear like it was nothing with her left hand too. She was like, beep, boop, like whatever, and then Gendry's just like, you could tell that Gendry got a boner at that point. You could tell he was like, okay, I'll make your weapon. So, I mean, there's a lot going on there, but I think what's more important is the scene that happened in the throne room. And Trin is right. The fact that Dany stood up and Sansa walks away like that, and Jon doesn't want to talk to her, it's all awkward. It's all awkward. And it kind of sets the pieces in motion for the rest of the episode.
Yeah, and seeing the whole beginning part was awesome, and Jamie kind of being different Jamie for sure. All these characters have grown, and I think that episode 1 and 2 are really pushing the difference. If you think back, it really is awesome. Okay, we're going to move on to the next section, which is also in Winterfell. We're going to talk a little bit about Jamie versus Bran, the Dream Creeper. Oh, by the way, interesting fact, I posted this on our Facebook page. The actor who plays Bran, I forgot his name. I'm very, very sorry. send your hate mail to someone else because I'm not going to read it. He was on one of the late night shows or some interview saying they were asking him, "How do you look so creepy? How do you look the way you do?" And he says, "Well, I wear glasses normally," and he doesn't wear the glasses, and he's got that weird squint in his eye, which I thought was crazy. I don't justify. I still think he looks like a dream creeper, and I can't stand it, and he drives me nuts.
Good
But
actor though.
but he's doing his job, and he's
Yeah.
acting the part terrific.
Doing a great job.
You know, so a lot of props.
The things we do for love. Trent, I was gonna send that to you last night. Like,
Like what?
no, I was just gonna send it to her. Like, you know, like you brought it up in the last episode, and you know what I mean. Like she posted it.
Yeah.
You know, that's I was just.
I knew
It's
it
just
was
funny
gonna be
that Brand
said.
said that.
Yeah.
So we got Jamie versus Bran, Jamie versus Tyrion, Jamie versus Brienne, part 1, Jorah versus Dany, Sansa versus Dany, Sansa versus Theon. So there's a lot of different characters, that are going to be intertwined in this one. So this one might take a little while. Yardley, you can lead us in, please.
Yeah, I'm just going to focus on a couple. So for me, Jamie and Brienne, their scenes, both scenes had stole the episode for me. When he said, "I would love to serve under your command if you would have me," Jamie, that was like the most, I say that it was flirting, but it was a sign that, number one, he knew his limitations. It was also surprising that he actually admitted he wasn't as good of a fighter because of that hand. But I thought that if there was anyone that I felt like Jamie should probably be paired up with, it should have been Brienne. But there was one thing that Brienne had said was like, "What's the deal? What's going on? You've never talked to me this long without saying something, bad about her." But when he gave her the armor and the sword, he didn't dog her out in that scene. So there was a time when, he had, spoken to her in a respectful way and wasn't necessarily, dissing her. So I did think about that when she said that. But I thought that scene was great. And I also thought that scene at the beginning when he was looking over and seeing Brienne out there watching Pod train, I thought that was one of the best moments as well, because you could tell that he felt like a lot of stuff was literally lifted off of his shoulders when he saw Brienne again. So I thought that was a pretty cool scene. And that was probably one of the scenes that John was talking about earlier. That's a scene that'll draw you in, huh, John?
Oh yeah, that scene was amazing. Like Jamie Brienne stole a show in this episode. 100% agree.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty cool. And the only other thing that I wanted to touch on was also when you talk about chemistry in the show. And throughout this episode, Nicholas and Gwendolyn Christie, for me, proved that their characters, even in the limited amount of time that they've had throughout the series, that they have way more chemistry than the two main characters of the series, which is John and Dany. This episode in particular really highlights how much different the chemistry worked between two characters and two actors. So I thought that was a good thing because, like I said, I thought Jon Snow is my favorite character, but I always thought that Jaime Lannister was a superior character, a more interesting character. And for me, this kind of hammered that point home. And the only other part was Sansa, when she was talking to Dany. She was essentially asking her if she had a plan for the North that kind of went beyond her conquest. I thought that was a great scene, even though it got cut off. I thought that it was big of Dany to kind of reach out to Sansa, because throughout this episode, at least up to that point, you could see that it almost seemed like Dany was kind of a second tier character, because she didn't really have control over the Jaime thing. And then you've got Sansa still, and I think rightfully so. Sansa loves the North. I mean, she loves where she's from, and I can't blame her for wanting to ask what is going to happen to the North beyond her conquest. I thought it was legit, but I actually did want to hear an answer for that. And then, of course, when Sansa sees Theon for the first time, which was another time that Dany got interrupted. And it just seems like every time Dany is kind of put on the sidelines by Sansa, she's constantly seeing other people show Sansa more respect, or people genuinely love her as a character. But I thought the Theon scene was another touching scene that kind of bookend the Brienne thing. So I thought that they did a fairly good job on most of these, the continuation of the reunions we saw last week.
Oh, excellent points. Just going to comment real quick on these, and then I'm going to let Trin go because it'll be her turn. Real quick, Jamie versus Bran. I don't like Bran as a character. Isaac plays him really awesome, but I just cannot stand him. But they had that forgiving moment where I'm sorry. It doesn't matter because I'm no longer Bran. I'm something else. Creepy, weird. I'm tired of seeing Bran, although I know he's important to the story. Jamie versus Tyrion, seeing those two together that led into Jamie versus Bran was awesome. There was one thing about the Tyrion conversation. I was talking to this with Train on the phone earlier today. I believe that this might be a little bit of foreshadowing. Now, don't go by what I say because I'm usually wrong. When Tyrion said, well, at least Cersei won't be able to kill me because the dead's going to get me, and then he'll march down there as a dead to get his sister, I thought, I know I'm paraphrasing all that. It's all butchered. But you remember the scene. I think that might be foreshadowing, possibly. Although, don't go by what I don't get anything ever right. Jamie and Brienne together was awesome. I felt some kind of chemistry. There's something there, more than just friendship. Is it love? Is it relationship material? I don't know, but it's definitely more than just, hey, buddy, how are you? Something very deep there. And I really, really like that. Jorah going to Dany and saying, hey, kind of give Tyrion a fucking break was awesome. Especially for Jorah, who never really liked Tyrion in the first place. That really stood out to me. Sansa and Dany was a very powerful scene to me. Sansa, I know you guys listen to podcasts know that I've never liked Sansa until recently. She's really grown as a character. Her outfit is freaking amazing, by the way. Yeah. The best outfit out of all the women on the show. It's just
sexy
badass.
Armor.
Right? It is awesome. Her statue, her confidence, her intelligence has gone way up. She rolled a 10. She's awesome. I'm really liking Sansa way more than Dany. And I'm really disappointed with Dany so far. I think that Dany's being like, I'm the boss. Look at me. Everyone look at me. I'm the boss. Hey, look at me. I'm in charge. Me. I'm not liking that. When Dany is acting like nice and humbling herself, the character is awesome. And she'll get a lot more bees with honey than a gallon of gall. Sansa and Theon, I cried. I'm not going to lie. I don't like Theon. I think he's a ding-dongless prick. But I cried when the two of them, the hug and the tear, and Dany's looking like kind of confused. Awesome scene. Yeah. Powerful. Loving it. All right, Trin, you're up.
So the next scenes, we see Jamie and Bran. They needed to clear the air, especially for viewers. It was something that just had to be done. My takeaway from that particular scene was that Bran made the point. He said, how do you know there is an afterwards? Because Jamie had asked him about the afterwards. How do you know there is an afterwards? So he can see the future, and he's really keeping a lot of secrets unnecessarily. And I think I've talked to some coworkers and stuff about that. Like, why is he not telling everybody? Like, he needs to show his hand to his own team. But anyway.
Yeah. He can only see snapshots, though. He can't see the future. Remember in this episode, he didn't even know if the fire would kill the Night's King. So I don't think that he can.
I have that in my notes too. He can see a lot of things, and he's just not. He's like really bizarrely sharing pieces. Anyway,
I think that's strategic, though.
I hope so. I hope it turns out to be like a Doctor Strange or sort of like I'm like testing out all of the possibilities of the future, and I know the one way that we can win.
Well, remember, I mean, it has to. Even if he could see the future, he would have to let everything play out the way that it is for that future to be realized.
Right, which is where I think it could be justified that he's keeping some secrets, but at the same time, it just seems like, come on, man, like you got information that's pertinent, and why did that's a tangent. I'm not going to go down that road. We'll talk about that later. Anyway. When Jamie and Tyrion were talking, it really cleared up a lot of doubts that I was having about Tyrion's loyalties, because they went back and forth she's different, meaning she's not like her father. When Tyrion was talking to Jamie knew who her father. Jamie killed her father. That's a kind of a big deal in this whole situation. So Jamie was like, my new queen. She different. So that proved to me that like Tyrion does have his loyalties in place, because I was really concerned after last season that I had a lot of doubts.
Well, the way they ended Tyrion standing on the ship, looking at the door where he knew that the Bow Chicka Wow Wow was happening on the other side, he was like, motherfucker. Like it left a bad taste in your mouth. Like, why does he care?
Mostly after he had that off-screen conversation with Cersei, we don't know what they talked about. That's where I was like, ugh.
Yeah.
And then she openly betrayed. But anyway, so that conversation helped clear up some of my doubts personally. I am so ticked off that no one said the words thick as a castle wall in this episode.
Right?
Because this episode was named for Brienne specifically because I'm going to give you guys a little history here. She's a descendant of Sir Duncan the Tall, and that's an Easter egg for book readers on the prequel novellas. Every scene with Jamie and Brienne together was excellent, and it was time well spent in this episode. So if you don't know about Sir Duncan the Tall, George wrote a bunch of novellas. One of them, the compilation or collection of them is called A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms. And it's about Duncan Egg. And you guys, if you don't know what I'm talking about, go Google it. Because I'm not going to get into it. We don't have time on this show. But Brienne is a direct descendant of Duncan the Tall. George has confirmed that. He confirmed it like 2 years ago. He's on record saying that. So the fact that he's got a whole set of other novels about Duncan the Tall, and they're called The Knight of the Seven Kingdoms, like it just makes too much sense that this was all about Brienne, which is awesome. Jorah advising Dany to forgive Tyrion and make peace with Sansa because he knows that Dany has a good heart and good intentions. And Jorah is always bringing out the best in Dany. He's just always there to advise her to be her best. And she turns around and opens up to Sansa and explains that she is in the North for the love of Jon. This is the first time we see Sansa say, I love Jon. And then Sansa, had first said, it's because my brother loves you. So we know that they love each other. Well, as far as Dany's concerned.
That might have changed.
Yeah. So I have a question for the we'll see.
Might have changed.
Yeah. I definitely cried when Sansa ran into Theon. Definitely cried. She accepted him as a brother, as a Stark, and that was the validation that he needed. And his whole arc has been an identity crisis. Theon's whole arc has been an identity crisis. He was a Greyjoy in Winterfell and like a fish out of water kind of thing.
He was a Greyjoy in name only.
We'll see. And then he went back.
That's how I feel.
He's had this whole back and forth thing with like Greyjoy Stark, and then he becomes Reek, and then his sister tries to pull him out. We talked about it last week. Yeah. But anyway, yeah, his story arc is an identity crisis. So when Sansa just like open armed accepted him and welcomed him back, tears.
Gotcha. But
tears.
Now,
yeah.
Some of the identity crisis that Theon had is because of the Stark children. It gets into that more in the books.
Yes.
I mean, they kind of aided in him feeling isolated to the point where he felt like he had to get his identity. So that's one of the reasons why I rag on Theon, because I get what not having an identity does.
Right. So I have a question for you guys in the panel. I want you to think about that scene with Sansa and Dany. And I don't know how many times you guys have watched it, or if you guys remember exactly what was going on. And at the end, when Sansa asks Dany about her plans for the North, after she knows that Dany has sacrificed her dragons and postponed taking back the Iron Throne to save the North. Hang on. If you guys remember feedback, what was going on. Do you think that Sansa was
Sorry.
underhandedly asking Dany about her plans with Jon? Or do you think that she was justified in like asking about Dany's plans for the North? Like, just because I thought about that scene and I thought, why would Sansa be like, oh, yeah, I should have thanked you when you got here because you postponed everything. You brought this army up to help us. And then she turns around and she's like, well, what about the North afterwards? Like, we want to be independent, but we want your help too. And I thought that was really, but then I thought about it and I was like, well, is she actually like underhandedly asking about Dany's plans with Jon? Like, is that, because they just talked about all that love stuff with Jon. So people might be like pushing Dany and Jon to like make it or break it kind of thing. What do you guys think?
Well, I don't think Sansa knows about the dragon at all. Nowhere so far when Dany has gotten to Winterfell, nobody has said anything about the fact that she has lost a dragon.
Yes, they have. Branded is like
That was
right
the
in
first
the
thing that they
yeah.
said. That was the first
Yeah.
Like,
when?
In episode 1,
When
when Bran turns around and says, "Enough of this. You lost a dragon. Night King has it."
Okay, well, I had weird audio at that point, so I didn't hear it. So, but it doesn't matter. This is Sansa playing. This is Sansa playing a dangerous game. That's what I'm going to say. Go ahead, Yardley.
I mean, for me, I think that she had the North. I think that Sansa, especially since she's had more control and has asserted herself and knows that a lot of people are looking to her for kind of guidance to push forward. I think that she's asking legit questions. She made some good points about how the North was saying they'd never, bow down to another, king, blase, blah. I think her heart is first about where she comes from. And actually throughout the whole series, this moment in time, maybe the day before, imminent death of everybody, I think that Sansa is just basically just saying to herself, I want to make sure that you're earnest in your intentions. And to be quite honest, Dany was going to have to fight for her life regardless. So I don't know if I can give Dany credit for showing up there because at the end of the day, she'd be fighting for her life as well. So I think that, hey, maybe they all would have ended up in the same place at some point anyway.
Well, Cersei will have to fight for her life as well.
Absolutely.
She didn't show up. She didn't send her army.
Yeah, but they're all still going to be getting pushed into the same place though. You know what I mean? So at the end of the day, no matter who aligned with who, everybody was going to have to fight anyway.
Did anybody feel like that could have been taken as like an underhanded way of being like marriage? Like, do you guys ever plan on getting together? Are you uniting the North? Because she just kept saying like the North. What's your plan is for the North? Like maybe trying to see if Dany was going to be like, well, if your brother and I get married, then it's all one big united kingdom, right?
It's again Sansa.
Well, she already made it John Warden of the North in the episode, so I already thought that was kind of established, because she made him Warden of the North. She even called him that at the beginning of the episode, so maybe I'm confused.
But again, this goes back to the fact that Sansa is underestimating what is about to happen. She's sitting there having this conversation with Dany. And, when we get to the round table gets to me, I'll talk more about it. But the situation, she has no fucking clue what is coming. She's acting big and bad. Like, what about the North? What are you going to do about the North? Bitch, there won't be a North. Do you not get that? Like, do you not understand? The North is going to be lost. Like, you have to understand what is about to happen. She's acting all like, it's like so fake. And I'll talk about it when I get to my part. But, she's having this conversation with Dany. Like, what about the North? What are you going to do? We don't bend the knee. Blah, 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 blah. Bitch, you're going to have to. You have no idea what is about 6 hours coming your way. So this is, again, her inexperience or her, head in the clouds attitude again, causing this, shield to show up. And she just wants to assert, her mean girl authority. And for all Valley girls, we understand what mean girls is. But she wants to assert that to Dany because she wants to feel like she has the upper hand because this is her house. This is her castle. Like, but at the end of the day, you have to fight for your survival. Don't worry about what's going to come of the North after. You ain't even got to the battle yet.
Well, either way, she did ask the question, and we never got the answer. I think we're gonna go, John. I think you're next, right, bud?
Yeah. Jamie and Brienne stole the show. I said it earlier. I thought that scene was amazing. I like that Jamie admit that I'm not the same fighter as I used to be. So, and him asking to be under the command of Brienne, I was tearing up right there. That was awesome. Tyr and Jamie always have great chemistry. I don't think that gets mentioned enough in this show. They're not in a lot of scenes together throughout the series, but whenever they are, I just love their chemistry. I thought Danny and Sansa were like making progress. They were smiling at each other. They were talking of a good time until the North was brought up. And like, I agree with everything Julie said. Stop focusing on the future. You gotta worry about this battle. You're underestimating it. I understand the North the North is a very prideful people. It's very weird in this show. Like, it's been mentioned before by Cersei in season 1. The North is like solely separate from like West. Like, here's Westeros, and I think the North is its own like country, separate. Like, they have their own ways. They don't want to be ruled, But I think that wasn't the right place. And I think what Trin you're saying is, I think the North and Jon go hand to hand together. So whenever I think Sansa mentions the North, I think that's also mentioning Jon, and I think with Dany, I think the reason she has a hard time talking about the North is I don't think Dany knows what to do yet with Jon. Like, I don't know if they survive this, I don't know if she wants to marry Jon. I don't know what she wants. So I think that's why that's a conflicted answer with Dany, because it all centers around Jon. So there's that. And if they survive, who knows what will happen. Sansa and Theon, I cried too for that scene. I agree with everything Yardley and everyone else said about Theon. He's got this. His arc has always been about identity crisis, and I think it goes back to the same old question. It's not the father that gave birth to you; it's the father that raised you. Ned practically raised Theon, and the same thing is going to go with Jon. Yes, he's a Targaryen, and I always mention this with Andrea. Yes, he's a Targaryen, but he was raised by Ned. He was raised in Winterfell. So him and Jon and Theon go hand to hand. Outside of that, I mean, Pod is getting better with the swords, but I think Sansa needs to focus on the big picture, and I think we see near the end, once they realize what's happening, forget the North, worry about the present.
All right. A lot of good points you made there, John. And a lot of people are making excellent points in the chat as well. So we're trying to read them, and we're having a hard time working them in because we're focusing on time. But we will. The
most important thing is Chris Innes agreed with me, and that right there in and of itself is a feat in itself.
Okay, so Julie, you're up for this section. So
so a couple things I just wanted to touch on. I love the Jamie and Bran at the Weirwood tree. I thought that really ended the chapter in that confliction between them. Things I do for love, push you out the window. It really did, and I think and Trin, you nailed it right on the head. And I think we are like, you and I are like the sisters from another missus, right? Because the thing I wrote down was what Bran said. How do you know there's an afterwards? That's the very first thing I wrote down out of that entire sequence. And it was a great exchange between the two of them. And the look on Jamie's face is like, that's actually a valid point that I just hadn't really, now you just put me into a really depressed mood. I love the Tyrion Jamie exchange too. I thought that was a very candid exchange. And the thing that I took away from that was what Tyrion said to Jamie. She didn't fool you. You always knew exactly who she was. You chose to love her anyway. I think that's Tyrion basically slapping Jamie in the face going, the things you did for love, you dumbass. Like that, you know what I mean? It kind of came full circle with that one. for me personally, in the entire sequence of what we have in the notes here for these, I think there's two important scenes in here with a caveat in the very end here. So the Danny and Jorah scene is probably my favorite of the entire episode. And the reason why I say that is because here's Jorah Mormont, who was cast aside, set away. You weren't good enough. Like you betrayed me. She sent him away, gets the grayscale. She feels bad. He's gone through so much arc Jorah has, through the entire process. And now he's back in her good graces. The fact that he was standing up for Tyrion says a ton about the respect that Jorah has for Tyrion's mind. Tyrion's not a fighter. Tyrion's not, that's not what he does. He is smart and he understands strategy, and how to play the game, so to speak, the Game of Thrones, right? So that's very important. And I took that really to heart, that thing. And then when he said one more thing, and then we see her go to talk to Sansa, I absolutely loved the beginning part of that scene where they sat down and they were like kind of bonding as like sister and sister-in-law, even though they're not really sister-in-laws. Shocking. But and I found it funny when they were having that exchange about, she said, I've loved enough, like when she talks about their other love, and Sansa says, who was he? And she said, somebody taller. I thought that was so funny, and the smile. And I liked that moment of levity between the two of them. It kind of broke up the just cattiness that had been going on. And it was nice to get that little sense of maybe they could be friends. Maybe they could come to an understanding, because they are stronger together just by sheer how much Sansa knows and how she's going. They'll be so much stronger together than constantly being catty to one another. That's not going to help them. And then Sansa goes right into the what about the North thing. And then I blocked it out. I was like, Sansa, stop. Like, I get it. I understand you're worried about the future. You don't even know if there's going to be a future. So you have to put stuff into perspective. Now is not the time to ask that. You just had this amazing bonding moment with her. And I love that scene with Dany. I thought that was the most real Dany had been since she arrived in Winterfell. And it was so nice to see the real Dany. But I kind of agree she's getting a little too forceful. But then again, I feel like she kind of has to be, because she hadn't been for so long. And then with the Theon return, I wasn't as choked up about it as everybody else was. Yay, Theon's back. Sansa hugs him. Just so you know, Sansa, he doesn't have a dick, so that's not going to help you, honey. Sorry, I know you want that, but it ain't going to happen. I don't know. It was whatever. It was Theon returns. Yay, grab a sword. Let's go. Like we've got shit to do. It didn't move me in the way that I think a lot of people got moved by it. I'm not discrediting anybody, their feelings at that. I just thought, okay, good, great. Another able body. Let's go. The dead is coming. Let's go.
Oh, very excellent points. Julie, you're muted, or Trin, you're muted. Oh, you're not talking to us? You're talking to somebody else? Okay. Let's move on then. I think we're going to go into the next section, which is Davos, the Shireen bit, the War Room, Missandei and the Grey Worm, Arya and the Hound, and Arya and Gendry Part 2, Electric Naked Boogaloo. All right, Yardley, lead us in there, buddy.
Yeah, so we find out in this episode that the Night's King wants to bring the long night by erasing the memory of man, which would pretty much be the last death that I guess you could experience. So Bran is basically the archive to man's existence. And by killing Bran, it would wipe out the memory and existence of man forever. Now, of course, we saw, everybody trying to come up with this plan, but I totally expect for the plan not to work in its entirety. Some shit is totally going to go wrong. I was going to save this for later, but I totally expect the Night's King not to be dealt with in the next episode. I think it's going to go maybe an episode after that. But the Arya and Gendry scene, I don't know. I kind of put in the show notes, nothing makes you feel more alive than fear and death. I can kind of understand why it was. I do wish that there would have maybe been a little bit more dialogue and a little bit of a mention about a conversation about how they had grown up to that point. But I think it was purposefully awkward on purpose. But I really would have liked to have had that. And I also think that the point about the Night's King basically being after Bran, I do think that they are going to try to use that to their advantage. But of course, when all hell breaks loose, we know that different things break down on different fronts. But I thought that revelation about actually getting the Night's King's motivation was something that we've been yearning for what, almost, has it been 8 years?
Yes.
It's been
Right?
8 years. It's been,
9?
oh my gosh.
No, I said right. Like it's
Isn't that
crazy.
crazy? So we've like been waiting to really find out what all of this is about for 8 years. So I thought that was pretty cool that we got that. And once again, back to the Arya Gendry thing. If they didn't do that, I wouldn't have cared. I just think that maybe they could have taken a few more minutes and just had them talk a little bit about the past leading up to it. But I'm never going to front on someone for Arya is kind of an inquisitive person. Everything that she's done, she's always been inquisitive. She's always wanted to try new things. And I couldn't blame her for wanting to kind of check that box, before she dies. But I don't know, like, are any of you the type of people, if you knew that it was like a 99-cent chance that you were going to die tomorrow, where would your
Well,
aim-
I'm not fucking Gendry, that's for sure.
Yeah, I just don't know.
She could have done worse.
Where are you,
I know
Sansa?
that's right.
Where are you,
At least they have a
Sansa?
history.
Hell no, I'd fuck Danny.
But it's like, oh my god.
Like, where's Sansa?
Yeah, but in this age, or not in this age, at this stage in the game, like, I'd be afraid my little brother would be watching.
I know. Oh my gosh, wouldn't you?
Right?
Dream creeper, how what you got it all with
Enjoy the
Danny,
show.
with Gendry.
I just say,
I don't know, how could you
I
not
just say,
be
enjoy the show.
just imagining all of the horrible ways you could die the next day and shit. Like I would just, oh my god, I'd be whiskey dicked out. Like I don't even know if I would be able to, like, I'm like, I'm sorry, Puddin'. We just can't do this.
I'm sorry, Puddin'. I'm sorry, Puddin'.
Yeah, you know what I mean? He should have said that to Ari, all right, Puddin' Pop, I can't. My mind's on something else. But I thought that it was okay. But anybody who was watching the episode who was on social media knows that the Arya thing was trending and all of that. I don't know if anybody else felt like it was out of place, but I really didn't mind it. And we have to remind ourselves that the Arya that we started seeing in the first season is totally not the same person that we see now. So it doesn't surprise me.
Excellent points. Okay, I'm going to read just real quick, and then I'm going to move on to trend. Davos. I like seeing Gilly because people had asked what happened to Gilly. Where's she at? There we got Gilly showing up there. It was really cool.
Yeah, I like seeing Gilly. That was cool.
Davos handing out the slop to the new soldiers and to that poor little kid that had the scar.
Oh my god! Right?
Was such a return to
broke my heart.
The doo-doo bug, Shireen, who I miss terribly on the show.
She was such a sweetie.
One of my favorite parts of this particular section we're going over is when the Night's Watch shows, they appear and Tormund, shows up and grabs Jon Snow and he's like, hey, everyone's hugging and everyone's together, right? And Tormund's like, is she here?
It's the big girl. It's the big lady here.
That was awesome. Missandei and Grey Worm, I could literally give less of a shit.
That was so pointless.
Well, I get the point of it. Like all these really light-skinned people that have never seen people of color before are like, what the hell are you doing here?
No, yeah, that part I get, but it's the whole part where they're like having this like super duper lovey scene. Y'all are gonna die. Nobody gives a fuck. Like, what the hell's happening right now?
Yeah, so I wasn't really, concerned about that. Although I love Missandei, she's one of my favorite characters. I don't think they're going to.
You just like her body.
That too, but I don't think they're going to make it to. Oh my god, I wrote this down. What is it, North?
Yeah, I think so.
So I even wrote it down. I can't find my damn notes. Arya and the Hound I thought was fun, and then Beric Dondarrion, not Duckdarrion, shows up, and she's like, "I'm not going to hang out with you two shits." And then of course Arya goes down and makes flippity flop with Gendry, and I'm glad we got to see a little bit of sex on the show, sort of, but it was just weird with Arya because it's like I remember when you were knee high to a grasshopper. Like it would have been better to just see like one of the soldiers in a whorehouse, or like a camp follower or something, maybe, or like maybe just some woman losing her mind running around naked because they're all going to die.
Or like we had in the first episode with Braun.
You know what I mean? Like yeah, or like that. But with Arya, it was just it's weird. And I know that I believe HBO tweeted or somebody tweeted from Game of Thrones during the day that Arya is 18. And I thought, wait a second.
Yo, it was like the #1 Google search yesterday.
Yeah.
Did you see that?
I'm like,
it was the
why?
#1 Google search.
I'm like, why was that? Oh, okay. She's going to have a naked scene. And I never get anything right, but I called it on the last episode that Gendry and Arya were going to make whoopity whoop. It's in the recording. So I should get $1 for that, or at least a gold star.
$1.
Something. I mean, holy cats. I get something right for a change. So those are some of the things that stuck out to me. The battle plan, the war room was pretty cool, except for the whole Bran talking a bunch of weird shit. Like, I don't know. I just do not like him.
It was important.
I
know you don't
cannot
like
wait
it,
till they
but
use
it's
him as bait
important.
at the weirwood in the garden. I can't wait. Put him by the weirwood. There is no way that Theon and company are going to protect him. The dragons, I guess, are going to be somewhere nearby to try to help out, not in the battlefield. Good luck with that. I think Wheels is toast. Just saying.
Wow.
Not yet. Not yet. I know I
Well,
can't.
either way,
not
I
yet.
think Theon's not going to survive this encounter in the Godswood, which is going to kind of suck
see
because
that.
he is growing on me. Although he'll never grow on himself. That didn't work. It worked. It sounded more funny in my
And
mind.
it sounded better in your head, yeah.
Yeah. So we're going to move right on to Trin.
Okay.
Go ahead, Trin.
So that first scene that you were just talking about with the Davos and Gilly, kind of shooting back to Shireen. They shared a moment with the ghost of Shireen, if you will.
Hey,
If
Trin,
anybody, yeah,
you said ghost. A ghost shows up in this episode.
I
too.
know.
yes,
I totally forgot about that.
Dude, look at my
boy-
notes. I wrote big capital letters.
For like-
Goat!
for like 2 seconds, and he wasn't very big. So anyway, but
He
yeah,
was the run of the litter, remember?
yeah, that's
He
true.
was the run
But
of the
he
litter.
he should be like seeing eye to eye with John by now.
No.
Anyway,
Nymeria would.
yeah. So Davos and Gilly share the moment with the ghost of Shireen, and I just said ghost of Shireen because it very much brought back for both of them. Because if you guys remember, Gilly was talking to Shireen at Castle Black about her
Yeah.
sister having grayscale, and they were having this conversation, and she was trying to teach her to read and all that stuff. If
It made my
anybody,
heart break.
yeah, if anybody does a rewatch, go back and just for those couple of moments during that scene with that little girl and Davos and Gilly, they played the song that Shireen sang in the background. The name of the song is "It's Always Summer Under the Sea," and it is very creepy and somewhat prophetic. So go Google it, look it up, whatever. But that's in the background, and I immediately recognized it and was like, "Oh, the feels! Oh God!" And then you get the War Room Council, and Sam confirms what death is. That's what death is. It's forgetting. It's being forgotten. And this episode, the whole episode, is a very powerful trip down memory lane in every sense. We see the characters living by remembering all of their trials, their history, their road that they've come through. So I thought that was a really cool tie-in. And then Theon finally remembering who he is, and now he desires to defend Bran. The one thing that Bran doesn't know is if the Dragonfire will stop the Night King. So it's like the only thing that Bran can't answer, or he says, I don't know. It's never been done. It's never been tried.
But Trent, didn't we see last season when the dragons were laying down all that fire and it was on the ground? Remember the Night King walked up and it immediately put it out.
Right. He's done that with fire a whole bunch of times where he walks up and it goes out.
That'll be interesting to see.
Mm-hmm. So we don't know if dragon fire can stop him. And then at the end, the end of the little work council thing, Danny gets all like googly eyed, longing towards John, and John just like can't even make contact with her. He doesn't even look at her, doesn't look up, and he says, "Your Grace," and like runs away. That's the second time he's not looked at her and run away, and so we haven't had their
It's a
confrontation.
little awkward now, though.
Yeah. And then we see Tyrion sticks around with Bran and has an off-scene conversation. What could that possibly result in? Put that in your back pocket for now or for later. Yeah, the Grey Worm Missandei thing. They started making future plans. Oh, going back to North. That immediately means you're gonna die. By
That
the way,
means you're going down. Yep.
Everyone else is talking about
I
the
want to
past.
be on the
you
beach.
guys are making plans
know,
for the
Chris.
future. You're
I
done.
want a pina
Do
colada.
we really care what happens with Grey Worm?
Fuck
Right.
no.
No, I'm just saying,
They-
like the fact that they made future plans while everybody else was talking about the past. That like
Yeah.
you're ensuring your death by the storyline. You are just ensuring your death. So
And then the dickless has future fucking plans.
right, yeah,
That's the only thing that pisses
Man.
me off about this is like a burgeoning, and I get it, love isn't about all of that, or at least that's what they say.
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
dang, you know what
Bird
I'm
with
saying?
no
Like I
wings.
just can't. I'm like, bruh, like, oh gosh, I guess you'll just be covered in hickeys if they make it out.
Yeah. Ugh. So the funny, quick little scene that I stuck in the show notes because it happened kind of in between was when they started to do their little fireside chat. They had just started it, like people were just starting to arrive, and Tormund was the funniest.
Yo.
You're like a peacock strutting his plume. I have this huge horn of ale. You're
Yo.
the king. You're the king killer. Well, I'm the giant's bane, and my story's better than yours. I paused the
Can we
show.
We have a
to
whole show
start
just on
laughing.
that.
Oh my god, I was laughing so hard. My husband and I were crying. We couldn't catch our breath. Like
I
that
was-
whole scene was just wonderful. I love you,
There's-
Tormund. Thank you for writing that in. It was hilarious. Anyway, that's all I want to say about that one. Gendry shows up to deliver Arya's weapon, looking like he just took a shower. Because in the scene before that, he was all gross and nasty and doing his
He knew.
smithing thing. Yeah,
he
right.
knew. He
He's
knew.
like he's all cleaned up and he's got like his tunic is all nice and whatever. And then she starts playing the lying game with him. Like, how many partners have you had? And he didn't want to lie. You could see she was totally in that zone like she did before with Sansa playing the little lying game. Ooh. And then barf. They have sex. Barf. Ooh. No, thank
The
you.
coolest part about that scene was the spear.
Yeah.
So we got the spear.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So now we know it's a spear.
I had some guys at work tell me like they felt like creepy, kind of like they were weirded out about that because they're like, oh no, she's like a little girl. Like I can't. Awkward.
And they were glued to the TV when she was pulling up her top.
Oh, maybe.
She got
So
two
they were
spears.
looking at the scars. That's what they were looking at.
Got speared twice. Oh, that's terrible. It was such a. I had to look away. It was terrible. Any more thoughts on that trend? Okay.
It was terrible.
I don't want to talk anymore about Arya and Gendry.
That was
Barf.
terrible.
Hey, if you watch the episode more than once, though, you really do see the overt flirtation
Yeah.
from beginning to end. You know what I mean? I just, Chris, could you have lived with them not doing that?
Yes.
Okay.
If they would have alluded to it, she like grabs his tunic and then next scene, and it
Or
was
they kiss or
implied,
something?
yeah, and it was implied that
And
they
just
made
like
a
roll.
flip-flop,
hmm
would have been fine with that. It would have been like, okay, because even though she's 18, she still looks like she's only like 16. She's
Hey,
gonna,
listen,
She looks
I
like
don't
she's
know-
12.
I don't know if she was satisfied, but Gendry was sleeping like a baby the day before he's gonna die.
Mhm.
I mean, she must have put it on him.
I'll tell you what, Maisie is her name, right?
Maisie
She
Williams,
is going to age amazingly. When she's 100, she's going to look like she's 30. She's just going to age so well. She just looks so young. God bless her. And what a fantastic job and as an actress, and her career, she's just gotten better and better and better and better. And I also loved her in Doctor Who. If anyone saw her in Doctor Who, it was awesome. All right, John, you're up, pal.
Uh, I love the ward council scene. You gotta, I mean, if you're, there's no better word council than that council when you got like John, Davos, Juron, Theon, Jamie, Tyrion. Like, it's pretty much like all of the, like, you got all this experience. I love that. To be honest, it's the smartest strategy you have, considering you really have no other choice. I mean, they're up against like, they're up against odds that like is so ridiculous. It's just, I mean, that is the best strategy you have. It's really the only one, is to try to draw out the Night King, kill him, and then you kill everyone else. I agree with Yardley. I don't think it's gonna work. I think it's gonna fail. I don't see Bran dying though. I think Theon might die defending him, and somehow I think Bran will get away, maybe on a dragon. I love Arya hooking up with.
How is that going to happen?
Yeah.
Is he going to wheel up its back? Right?
Listen, first of all, how the hell does he get anywhere anyways? Like, he's like alone in like there's no one around. He's alone in the gods. Like, he wheels himself.
Disappears.
Someone's gonna put him on a dragon.
You know, imagine someone needs to make
somehow,
a meme. Somebody out there in the community make a meme of somebody sitting in the bathroom. And then the next meme is they turn sideways, and the next meme is Brad sitting there staring at them. Like, that's what it feels like. So I'm telling you.
Like,
yes,
terrible.
In this scene, it's so crazy because all you see is he's always around, but there's like no one there. So how is he getting around? Like, does he just call someone, or does he wheel himself? Because you just see him in like the Godswood by himself. Yeah, he probably has. I don't know. I just think he's gonna get away somehow, because I think he's too important to die now.
He blinks twice.
Oh, sorry, John. I didn't mean to interrupt you. Go ahead, pal.
I love where Brienne's like half a cup, and then Tyrion just fills the full cup, and he just gives it to I thought that was awesome. I love that whole getting together scene. John Spain is the funniest character. I mean, I killed a giant, and then I went into the bed of the wife, and she suckled me for 3 days because she thought I was a baby.
3 months.
And then he drinks something
to be drinking
3
breast
months.
milk.
I'm like,
for a 10-year-old.
Oh my god! And then he's jugging down this.
It was beer.
I don't know if it was beer.
It was
actually,
ale.
It looked like it was milk.
It was ale.
It looked like milk. And then everyone just staring at him, and then Davos was like, "I think I'm gonna have that drink too." So I thought that was a freaking amazing. I don't have an issue with Arya hooking up with Gendry. I liked it. It was bound to happen. Outside of that, nothing really. I do want to know what Tyrion and Bran talked about too. That was awesome. So outside of that, it was a really good scene.
That was probably one of my favorite scenes of the whole thing. Was that whole togetherness, having beers or drinks, wine and laughing and stuff.
Not just that, like from the War Council on, I think is one of the best just sections of the whole series. Because and we'll go on more in the next scene, but I think that's one of the best sections of the whole series, Julie, for me.
So I like the War Council. I liked what John said. You have this room filled with some of the best military, minds that are left on Westeros. You've got Jorah Mormont, you've got Tyrion, you've got Jaime Lannister, you've got all these guys in this room, putting together this plan, and you've got Bran talking about, what he knows about the Three-Eyed Raven. The fact that he brings to, I'm marked, he'll know exactly where I am all the time, sitting there saying he's going to basically sacrifice himself so that they could hopefully get the Night King by himself, which, if I'm not mistaken, Trin, you and I talked about this when we were talking about the preview, is that was the only way that it was going to have to be Jon somehow getting the Night King away from the army so that scene and sequence of events can happen. If that's how it happens, that's interesting that we brought that new aspect into the whole equation about Bran being marked by him, and he's basically tracking Bran because he's the three-eyed raven. The awkwardness between John and Danny, I felt bad for Danny. I think she really wanted to talk to him and kind of like pick his brain and kind of be embraced by him. You know, she's falling head over heels in love with John. It's a sheer dive off a deep cliff at this point. She is fully engaged, and John is too, but he's a little disconnected at the moment. In my notes, I big capital letters ghost because I loved it. My favorite part of this kind of block that we're talking about is something that sadly nobody brought up, but I loved the three Night's Watch brothers kind of standing there talking to each other. You know, Sam, you know, saying, I'm the only one who killed the damn the White Walker. Like, you know, they were having that moment of levity between the three of them. And it was a beautiful scene, I think, because, you know, here are three guys that are outcast by so many different things, you know, when they first meet each other and when they go through this bonding as the Night's Watch brothers, and here they are again back together. I love that. I really want to know exactly what Tyrion and Bran talked about. I'll be curious to see if we ever figure that out. If one of them dies, then we may never know. I really liked Jaime and Tyrion before everybody else starts walking in. There was a nice little scene between the two brothers, kind of just letting their hair down, kind of just relaxing, sitting in front of the fire. Like, listen, they don't know if they're going to survive. They don't know any of this, but if they don't, like, at least they're not panicking. You know, I felt like, and John's right, once we start to talk about that, you know, around the round table, you know, whatever, it just felt really nice that there was almost a sense of calming and peace that was happening, knowing what's about to begin, you know, just to have them all kind of like power down and focus on just having like a laugh or two. First of all, Giant's milk, that's just creepy as fuck. You suckled on her teat. I was like, but again, Trin, you're right. You can ask my mom, and she's in the YouTube chat. I couldn't stop laughing at that entire, like, so he's saying that, and then you see Brienne's face like, what? Like, dude, you saying
Super
that?
grossed out.
Yeah, she's like, you saying that? No, we are never going to have sex. Like, that was just straight up. Like, you just literally gave yourself blue balls, my friend. And then, you know, Jaime was kind of just like, I'm kind of intrigued, but I'm kind of freaked out at the same time. Like, it was just this whole weird. And then, of course, Tyrion was just like, fuck yeah, with his wine. Like, he's just he's like, whatever, I'm a dwarf. I'm going to fucking die. So, you know, he just doesn't care. And then I liked Arya telling the two guys, you miserable old shits, I'm not going to stay at my last hours here with you. I wrote Arya Gendry, what the fuck? This is awkward. I can't. I just can't. I looked at mom and I'm like, I can't. Like, literally with my mom, which is awkward in of itself. Soon as, like, I thought, this is what I seriously thought. Like what Chris said, I thought they were going to allude to it, and then they were going to cut to a different scene, and then all of a sudden, there goes Maisie's shirt, and I could see side boob, and I'm just like, she's 11. She's 11. She's little Arya. Like, I can't. Like, she's still sword fighting with Serial Pharrell. I can't. Like, it was so, I just couldn't. I had to turn away. I was like,
sword fighting with Gendry instead.
well, you know, like Chris said, she got speared twice, you know? So it's just, you know, and she was just like, you know, I'm not the Red Witch. Take off your fucking pants. Like, she was just like, let's go. Let's get this done. Like, she was just like, and I was like, I mean, I felt like coming on this podcast today going, let's drink for Gendry because good job, buddy. But then I'm like, this was so awkward on so many fronts. I think I'm going to be emotionally scarred by that.
We should drink for Arya.
Drink for Arya, everybody.
The one
Yes.
scene,
Bottoms up.
Hey, it wasn't the last
one scene I
time.
did like.
The last scene with John, Ed, and Sam was when they were together talking about Pip and Gren died, I think.
Yeah.
Wasn't that the last
Yeah.
time that they
Yeah,
Yeah.
I really love that scene. It was such a beautiful
It's in our
moment
next
between the three brothers. Because you know what? No matter what happens, even though now we know Jon is really a Targaryen, all the stuff that's happening, they're still always going to be brothers of the Night's Watch. And I think that's a bond. That's a very deep rooted bond, considering all that they had gone through when they went, with Mormont, and all that stuff. I love that moment, that scene between the three of them. It was a beautiful scene for me.
Going back for a second, I love when Tyrion's like, imagine what father would think us defending
Right? Yeah.
Winterfell. I mean, I thought that was a little nudge at Tywin. I thought that was awesome that Tyrion brought that up.
That was a good conversation. And of course, I know we're missing a lot of different points here, and we're gonna dive into this deeper on the longer episodes when we review everything after the season's over, because there's a lot of stuff that we're kind of jumping over, trying to get to the most important highlights. Let's move on to the next section, which of course is Winterfell again, and we have Brienne talking to Jaime for the second time, and that was in that room where they're having like their big drink cookout thing. They were hanging out by the fireplace, which is probably one of my that whole part was my favorite. Julia mentioned Jon, Ed, and Sam together. Sam and Jorah, which I thought was a nice moment. Jon and Dany, and of course the musical montage, which was interesting. So let's start. Yardley, go ahead and lead on, buddy.
Yeah, who would have thought that the Jaime and Brienne sex scene would ended up, being a knighting? And I'm totally cool with that. We already talked about the chemistry between those two characters, but for me, that was probably the most impactful scene that I've seen in a while, like maybe since the Red Wedding. Because like when that happened, I was like, I don't know why the fuck I'm feeling like I shouldn't really give a fuck. But then when I thought about it, that's all that Brienne's ever wanted. And then, those two characters. So by far, that was the best scene for me in the episode. And I thought that it was even better for her to get that honor that she always wanted before the biggest battle of her life. But at the same time, I think that I'm probably 90% that Brienne's probably going to get it, because the same things that we've been saying about other people, Jorah getting that sword. Well, Sam's going to get that sword back because Jorah's going to end up dying. Brienne gets knighted. That's all she's ever wanted. I think that she's probably going to end up dying. It's sad, and I kind of hope she doesn't, but isn't this what they're the best at, is like pulling the rug up from under you, especially when you have those types of scenes. So I think it's going to be bad news in the end. And for me, once again, I think the Jon and Dany scene, when Jon kind of reveals to Dany that he's the rightful heir to the Iron Throne, I think that there probably needed to be 3 or 4 more minutes added to that scene. That was a little bit too quick, just like like a baffled look from her, it's a lie or whatever, and then it's over. Of course something happens to pull them out of it, but I think that they deserved at least a good 5 minutes excuse me, or 6 minutes to kind of talk about that big event. And I do feel like Jorah, that scene kind of felt good to see Jorah get that sword, but once again, like I said, Sam is totally going to get it back, because he'll probably end up, do y'all think that Sam will end up going downstairs to get locked up with Gilly to protect them down there? Or it sounded like he was going to fight. You know what I mean? I wasn't sure. Do y'all think he's going to end up?
No, I don't think he'll go down.
You don't think he'll go down?
I don't. No.
Okay. What about you, Chris? You think that Samwell goes down?
I don't think so. I think that if he does, it's because the Winterfell's defenses have been breached and the dead are working their way in, or it's because the dead start rising out of the crypts. That would really suck. That would really suck.
So, Trent, you think he's gonna?
Do you think Ned won't have a head?
You don't need one.
They boiled Ned down to his bones. Remember, he was boiled. They only brought back.
That's
the
true.
bones.
Valid point.
I think that
I do that just to piss Jon off, so everybody knows he hates that.
No, it's not that. It's not that. Everyone keeps mentioning, and this was on Facebook, about the dead, right? They're all bones. Please tell me how bones is going to crack through stone concrete. And then, by the way, the statue that's on top of, each thing. I mean, they're bones
true.
at this point. That are they
That's
even
true.
together?
Ever watched
Like,
a horror movie
know,
ever?
They're risen at all. And poor
I'm
Glenn,
sorry,
No.
it's not. They're not
Everything,
coming up.
all of those points. Remember, John, when we watched Hard Home, remember there were skeletons. Remember they fell off the side of that cliff, they broke up, and then they came back together and started running.
it's called
So,
man-
Yeah, I understand skeletons coming back to life, but you're gonna break through stone,
called a
concrete,
suspension of disbelief,
and
my
a
friend.
statue on top. Like, come on,
you
man.
know that
That's
It's
you're really
magic, you know. Maybe Bran, the Dream Creeper, will somehow magically teleport to open up the crypts.
I think Trin, I know you got sorry, you got
Sorry,
talked over.
Trin.
Sorry, Trin. Sorry,
I
Trin.
don't remember the question that he was just asking. I had a response ready.
Is Sam gonna go into the crypt?
Oh, so I think that Sam, he's not really a fighter. So I don't think he's going to do a lot of the offense that everybody else who are fighters, because he gave his sword away. And I do think that Sam will play a big part in the egress of the survivors. That's what, and so he might get a couple of shots off, or, pop a couple of White Walkers on their way when they're leaving, and it's not really a spoiler, because, and I don't have any extra information, but we know that Winterfell is going to be pretty much emptied out from what they've teased us already. So I think that Sam's not going to be fighting, but at the same time, he'll be like doing a little bit of fighting. So does that answer your question, Yardley?
yes, and that was a great answer. I don't think that he's going to fight. I think he is going to stay with Gilly, protect little Sam. I definitely think he's going to be down there, and that's the reason why I think he's going to get the sword back. I think that they're going to hide whatever happens at Winterfell, even if it's destroyed. I think they'll be safe, and I think when they're walking through the rubble, he's going to find that sword, because Jorah is going to be deader than the fuck.
I think he's going to fight at the beginning and then go down, because he killed a Fen and he was the first to kill a White Walker. Let's not forget this. So he was fighting at a battle at Castle Black. So I see him fighting at the beginning and then falling back to the crypts.
I think no matter how you slice it, a lot of people are dying next week.
Oh yeah.
Like people in the chat, especially Big Ear, saying, prepare your Kleenex, because it's
literally only had one death, and it was Ned Umber. And it's 2 episodes in. We're
and
a third of the way.
We picked that in the Deadpool. I'm just saying.
I lost that one.
I'm already fucked on that one.
I still stick to my my comments in our 200th episode about, I feel like at least 60 to 70% of them have to go.
Oh yeah, I think
for
you're
me
right.
to think that
I'll agree with 60%. I'll agree with 60%.
Yeah, because I don't. Yeah, I just don't. I don't know. I mean, they've been selling this threat for so long. It just can't be a bunch of Unsullied and Dothraki, and or Golden Company if they show up for some fucking reason. I just feel like it's time, for a lot of these people, and they have to convince me that it's real. And if they don't, if only like a few people, I'll be it'll take me out of it. You know what I mean?
There would have to be real legitimate reasons.
Yeah, I just don't see it.
And if I see Bran riding on the back of a dragon to safety, I quit.
Oh my!
Absolutely quit.
Why are so many people talking about this Bran on a dragon thing?
And going cashes in his wheelchair and
that's funny.
Smashes him.
I don't think it's unreasonable to think a lot of people will get on one of the backs of the dragon, like they did with the Suicide Squad. I think they would throw a bunch of people on the back of the dragon to get them out of there. But it'll be Danny riding it, or John driving. You know what I mean?
There's only
driving the dragon. You're gonna be driving the dragon.
I think so too.
I think Rhaegal is motherfucking toast.
Yeah, I think so too.
I'm telling you, Rhaegal is toast, and Drogon is gonna die with the scorpion that killed Balerion.
Yeah, we're gonna be back to square one with no dragons again.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go real quick, and then I'm gonna let the other hosts go. Brienne and Jamie, I thought was awesome when he knighted her when they were having their drinking fest, which was probably my favorite scene. I know I'm jumping ahead, but that's one of my favorite scenes of this whole thing. When he knighted her and she was teary-eyed, I cried as well. It was an amazing scene, And if they do kill her, I feel like her character had an amazing adventure, and that's okay. She dies honorably, whatever. John, Ed, and Sam was another amazing time with them. They're talking on the ramparts with Ghost. I thought that was really cool. I think Ghost was in that scene as well. I don't remember, but I just remember them talking. And now my watch begins, which was a nice one of the lines that Trin brought up that they brought. That was one of those old lines that they used. They brought it back, which makes sense. Sam and Jorah getting hearts. Is it Heartsbane? No, yeah, is that Heartsbane? The sword, the Valyrian steel sword. That was cool because Sam's like, I can't even hold it up. So, I thought that was really awesome considering that Jorah's queen just dropped the bomb on Sam an episode ago that sorry, you can't go home because your brother's dead and your dad's dead. You're fucked. Sorry. The John and Danny thing I thought was rushed. I also thought it was kind of the way Danny reacted. I was a little bit disappointed the way she's looking at him, like she's like in shock. And I know it's a shocking situation, but it just I don't know. I want to say that I would react better if it were me in that position, but I don't know. I'm not digging Danny this episode. I'm really, really not. This whole season so far, I'm not really digging her. In the montage when Podrick's singing, I thought was awesome. And they're kind of showing all the characters together, like Sansa sitting with Theon. I thought was cool.
He doesn't
And
have a penis, Sansa. Walk away from that.
Yeah, right. But you see everyone together in these groups, in these little cliques, and it's almost like, wow, look at where we've come from the beginning, how these characters have changed and the show is adapted. And it's like, this is the calm before the storm. This is that big breath, as Gandalf says in
the deep breath before the plunge.
Before the plunge. And it was I thought it was amazing episode. But Trin, you're up.
Going back to that one scene where we got Dolorous Ed and Sam and their quips at each other, and John was there, but he was, he wasn't doing the quipping so much. The part that stuck out for that just brief moment to me was the fact that Dolorous Ed was saying, "Oh, yeah, we're fucked," and Sam was like, "Well, no, you're not." Like, does that mean that Dolorous Ed's the only one who's gonna die a virgin? Because,
yeah, pretty much.
Because Arya took care of herself, but I think poor Dolorous Ed is one. But they were remembering Gren and Pip, and that goes back to the whole not forgetting people, not being forgotten. When we finally did get to the Brienne and Jaime knighting ceremony, if you will, and he's talking about telling her, "I want to knight you," or "Get over here and bend down," and she says,
"Get over here and bend down."
Kneel. She said, "I don't even want to be a knight." The look, they panned over to Pod, and she had done this great big journey. Pod's for Squire. The looks between Pod and Brienne were like, he knows better. He knows that's everybody knows that's all she's ever wanted. That was definitely
she tried to humble herself a little bit there, I think.
Yeah, that was the high point of the episode. And then immediately goes into little Lyanna, Lady Lyanna. She gets that moment with Jorah that I was really hoping for. I think I talked about it earlier when we were talking about like the reunions and stuff that we wanted to see. And that was one of them that I was kind of looking forward to. I'm glad they didn't drag it on too much. But he says that she's the future of our house. She's telling her this, which means he expects to die in this battle.
Oh, yeah.
And she turns around and says, "I wish you good fortune, cousin." Now, this is something that we've heard over and over before. It was said by Arthur Dayne to Ned Stark, "I wish you good fortune in the worst to come." It was said by Mance Rayder to Stannis Baratheon. Jon actually said it to Dany when he was leaving Dragonstone. And then we saw it again, Uncle Benjen, when he drops Bran and Mira off. "I wish you good fortune." So that might, for those of you tinfoil theorists, go do some digging and see what's up with that whole "I wish you good fortune" phrase. And then Jorah received Heartsbane. That was kind of tricky for me because now I'm questioning what the end of Jorah's arc is going to be. Like, he said, "I'll wield it in my father's memory for Sam," because Sam was saying about how your dad was so great. And then he also said to guard the realms of men. So he's doing this in his father's memory. Does that mean like he still has unfinished business like I kind of thought that Jorah's arc might be over and he was going to die a hero and save his family and all that stuff, but now I'm not sure. And then we're at the end and Pod starts singing Jenny of Old Stones, aka Jenny's song. This is a very important song right now with regards to the prophecy of the prince who was promised and to the Targaryen dynasty. We don't have time to talk about it in depth right now. So if you're, a super fan, go Google that. Go Google Jenny of Old Stone, Jenny's song, and listen to the words and kind of look up the background of that. We can talk about it in a future episode, but I didn't have time for that right now. And then finally, when we got down to Jon and Dany, I think the writers are really unfair to Dany this episode. She said that she trusts him earlier in the episode when she's talking to Sansa. And then she reacts as though he was trying to be conveniently made the last male Targaryen and take her throne. So there's like this breach of trust kind of thing going on there. And then they blow the horn before he can respond. So he doesn't even get to tell her, like, no, I'm not motivated by the throne. That's not why I'm saying this. I think it's really unfair to Dany. Dany's torn between her love and trust for Jon, and she doubts the motives of the other people, specifically Sam, telling Jon, oh, you're the rightful heir. This should be a happy moment for Dany because she is finding out that she is not the only Targaryen. She's not the last Targaryen. Like, that should be something happy for her. So I think the writers stole all of her happy moments this episode by carefully placing dramatic discussions and then interrupting them before they could be resolved, because it happened to Dany over and over. And I was really annoyed with that portion of this episode.
Happy moment that it was never acknowledged that they were like, she never even looked and said, oh my God, I'm a cousin fucker.
No, well, yeah,
nephew. It's her nephew,
and it's still not. It's still not a thing that anybody.
Neither one of them give a fuck.
Nobody cares.
Only you, Chris.
Well,
it's very common in certain places.
There's a lot of other people that commented about it on a couple posts we had. So
yeah, no, neither one of them care because they're Targaryens and it's totally normal. It's
totally normal. Dude, fucking Jaime's there and he's a sister fucker. So what the hell are we really? Why are we getting all? You are wearing the Lannister shirt and he's a sister fucker. But you're gonna get grossed out that Dany and Jon, his cousin or his nephew and aunt. Come on, dude. Happens in Kentucky all the time. Just kidding. I'm just kidding. That was a joke. I'm just kidding. You can send me the hate mail. It's fine. It was a joke.
Here come all the 1-star reviews on Apple, on Apple and Stitcher.
It was a joke.
All right, Trent. Any other thoughts on this? Are you ready for Jon?
That was the end. I was just kind of
sorry,
upset
Trin,
with the Dany and Jon abruptly getting interrupted and not being able to finish their conversation, because I really wanted to know how he was going to resolve that with Dany. And it's not fair to Dany that she doesn't get resolution, and it's not fair to Dany that she doesn't get to hear the words from Jon that, like, I love you. I'm not doing this for the throne. None of this is for the throne. This is for my people and survival.
Yeah, and hopefully Jon would even say that because he's not very good at talking. He's not. He isn't. He's everyone has to talk for him. If Davos is there, he could do it for him. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so Jon, you're next, right? Yep, you're next, bud.
Yeah. So I said this before. I'll say it again. After this episode, I can't hate Jaime no more. I like Jaime. Okay, I know that makes a lot of people happy that I said that. Chris and Chris Innes. So
that was some epic battles.
Jaime to me is fully redeemed. He is fully redeemed in my eyes. I like him now. The hate is gone. Everything's forgiven. Jaime knighting Brienne made me cry. I'm not gonna lie. There's feels there. I thought that was amazing. I honestly thought that Pod was gonna get knighted too, but I guess he's not ready. Or maybe just didn't have time. I did like earlier when Tyrion was like, Davos, Survivor of Blackwater Bay and the Battle of Bastards, and then Davos was like, without any training at all, and then he goes, Jaime, the hero of the Siege of Pike, and the hero and the and he's like the loser of Whispering Woods. So I thought that was a really good scene there. You know, a shout out to Liana Mormont decking her armor out, wanting to fight. She's a badass. I don't think we didn't mention this in this. She's a freaking badass. She's willing to fight. It's awesome. I love it.
She'll be the first to die
I hope she
someday.
wrecks some shit up. I thought it was awesome. Huh? I didn't hear what you said,
she'll be
Yali.
the first to die on Sunday.
Probably will, but you gotta respect she's willing to fight. You know, I love that. I love that whole scene with her cousin. You know, I love Sam giving Heartsbane to Jorah Mormont. I thought that was awesome. Again, a little bit teary eyed there too. You know, Danny and John. You know, I agree with what you said, Trin. There's some unsolved. Hopefully, episode 4. We'll get a little bit of that. Maybe that's a prelude to one of them dying, like maybe Danny, because it wasn't finished. I doubt Danny's gonna die that
would
early.
be
So
horrible writing.
You know, John, Ed, and Sam, and then seeing Ghost was awesome. He's my boy. Sam, John, and Ed was an amazing scene where Sam's like, "I killed Thins," and then Ed's like, "You killed a Thin." And he's like, "We're all fucked." Ed's like, "We're all fucked." They're remembering, you know, Gwen and Pip. Is it Pip? Yeah, it's Pip. So I thought that was a very good scene. A lot of throwbacks, like you guys have mentioned in this episode, remembering the past. This Pod singing that song did not help my emotions whatsoever. I cried with that. I got chilled up that emotion. And I'm a big Rocky fan, so montages have to be really good because they're like Rocky's like the best at montages in my opinion when it comes to that. This was a really good montage, and you know, getting everything ready. It's going to be a next episode. What I will say about what they're doing this season is I do love how connected 1 to 2 to 3 is. Like, it's all this space in between. It's like you leave 1, you go right into 2, you leave 2, you go right into 3, and it's probably going to be you leave 3 right to 4. It's like they're really, I thought, unlike in the past where you only really saw that with maybe the Red Wedding leading into episode 10. They're doing this for the first 3 episodes and maybe even the 4th episode. I love the connection. There's no time since, and I do love the fact that the whole episode was in Winterfell because I think the only time an entire episode was in like one area was I want to say the Battle of Blackwater, where the entire episode was King's Landing and around that area. So I thought that was awesome. You know, outside of that, I don't know why Danny right away went to like not trusting. She kind of went like, she kind of like had that little untrust there, but Trin explained that already. I have nothing more to say. I love Jamie. So Jamie, Brienne stole the show.
I still can't believe that. Okay, Julie, you're up. Go.
So the first thing I want to talk about, the first thing I want to make mention here is when Tyrion says, "I think we'll win," and Davos starts fucking laughing. That was hysterical. But that whole round table, or that, you know, what, I don't know what we're calling it, but that whole sequence of events with all those guys sitting around the fire, drinking and all that stuff, I think is probably one of the greatest scenes in the entire Game of Thrones, because it's all these different people from all these different places. Tormund, he's a what do you call him? Free man. What are they called? Help me, somebody. What is Tormund? Wildling. Thank you.
The free folk.
Free folk. Well, I guess he is free. He's not barred down by the damn
they call them free folk too.
Bullshit. But, you know, you've got Tormund, who's a wildling. You've got Jaime, who's a knight of, you know, the king, or whatever the case may be. Seven Kingdoms. You've got Tyrion, who's a dwarf. You've got Davos, who's an outcast, onion knight, you know, smuggler. You've got Pod, who is just literally a nobody, who is now a somebody. Brienne, who just wants success. You have all these different people, these different entities in this room, and they're all bonding because it's the night before their demise, and they're sharing this moment with each other. I think it's such a beautiful leeway and entrance into what's to come. I really do. Let me just, I'm going to get to my favorite scene altogether, but Sam giving Jorah his father's sword, that is more significant than I think we think it is. I don't think Jorah dies. You don't go through this whole thing and give him that sword in particular. And I loved what Sam said, about, what Jorah's father did for him, and the effect that he had on Sam, and how he's giving it back to Jorah. It's like it comes full circle. I think Sam dies. I don't think Jorah dies. That's just how I feel it's going to be, because he's handing off the sword. It kind of gives me some thought process to that. I don't think Brienne dies. I think she's going to get pinned down in a very awkward situation. But I don't know if she dies right away. She may. I don't know. The pod singing thing, that just tore me apart. And Trin, you are so right. Google that song and the history of that song, and you will understand how significant it is for Pod to be singing it at that moment. I'm about to rage, because before I get to my favorite part of it, I'm going to rage. Jon and Dany in the crypt pissed me off so much, made me so mad. What did we talk about? What did I talk about, guys? Last episode, I said there are 3 people in Westeros at the moment that know that Jon is the rightful heir to the Iron Throne. 3 people. 3 people knew it. That's all that needed to know it. Jon telling Dany was the stupidest, dumbest, most wrong thing to do right before the horn blows, to signaling that the dead are here. It was dumb.
Why do you think they wrote in Sam, like, kind of almost not forcing Jon, but he was prompting Jon before Dollar Said walked up? He was like, "Oh, have you told her yet? Oh, no, you haven't. I guess you're waiting for the right time." Why would they push Jon using Sam? You know what I mean?
Because I think that they're afraid to talk to Jon about it. I think they want, because this is how I feel, Trin. They don't like Dany because she's a Targaryen. They don't like Dany. She's an outsider. Even though she was technically born in Westeros, she's been in Essos for so long that she is like an outsider to them. So there's a lot of animosity. And I think, again, you said it straight up. The way they wrote her in this episode was such a disservice to Dany. I felt so bad. But I think the most important part in the crypt scene is Dany isn't mad that Jon is related to, that they're both Targaryens. She is angry that he is the rightful heir to the throne, and it totally takes away everything she planned for. That's what she's most upset about. Think about it this way. If Jon never says that, here's what they should have done. Okay? Jon and Dany are in the crypts. This is how it should have been. They're standing in front of Lyanna, and they had this beautiful, like, Dany wraps her arm around him. It was such a cute scene, like, not cute, but it was like, yeah, that's the interaction we were waiting for the whole episode, right? And then she says the thing about Lyanna being raped. All Jon has to do, this is what should have happened. No, Rhaegar didn't rape her. He loved her, and he secretly married her. And then they should have blown the horn that the dead was there. Never should he have said, they should have never have let Dany know that he is a Targaryen, because now her head is not focused on the battle ahead. Her head is now focused on the fact that she is now straight up no longer no longer, the throne is not hers. It doesn't matter that Jon doesn't want it. She doesn't know that because we never got to that part. But even like that part of, no, your brother did not rape Lyanna, that could have been enough. Then she could have had this, my brother was honorable, because she talks about how much of an honorable man Rhaegar was, and he was. We've read tons of stories about him. So, like, that to me was doing a massive disservice to this whole thing, and it's going to screw up her head for the battle to come.
Do you think it might be the writing of Dany might be a red herring, and we're meant to see her going almost towards the Mad Queen path, but because I think she's gonna sacrifice herself somehow, and then all of this will come together, and it'll be like, it was such a impactful sacrifice. She's giving everything up for him.
You know what's Trin? That would work if we all didn't think that she is going to be with child. Like,
Right.
if she wasn't, if we know the dragons survive, which I don't think the dragons survive. That let's get that very clear. I don't think the dragons survive. If the dragons don't survive, there has to be a legitimate heir. There has to be, and them having a baby is a legitimate heir. I think we all kind of see the crystal ball on that one.
Does there though? She's trying to break the wheel.
I don't know. I don't know, because if the dragons go, then she's going to be devastated, and now there's not. You know what I mean? It's just, something's going to happen there.
I've been going back and forth with the whole baby theory, and I thought we were going to see.
I thought we would have get it by now. Yeah, I thought we would have.
The wedding would be the precursor to the baby. Since we haven't seen that, and we're a good 30%, 35% into the season. Now I'm thinking maybe Dany dies sacrificing herself. There is no baby. There is no Targaryen heir because the wheel is broken. Maybe.
So I don't know. It's going to be interesting if. Obviously, everything's going to hinge on next Sunday's episode. If they survive the initial onslaught of the dead army, I think. Now, of course, some people are going to definitely die. We know this. It's the writing's on the wall, right? But I think if we get to the end of the episode with the majority of the players intact, I think that's a good indicator that either they're going to retreat to the Iron Islands, because they brought that up when Theon showed up. So I have a feeling that that's a precursor for that's going to happen. So who knows? It's all in crystal ball at this point. But for me, the most amazing scene, not only in this episode, but for me, I think this is the best scene in Game of Thrones for me thus far, is when Jaime knights Brienne of Tarth. I literally felt so much pride and so much love for Brienne at that moment. She stood up. You could tell she was humbled. She didn't want to do it. She felt awkward. And then he says, kneel. And she does. And I'm just like, oh my God, would you two just get it on already? Because you're so adorable, right? But it also, for me, I know that the actress Gwendolyn, she's phenomenal. But she's such an amazing character, because it's for girls like me who were tomboys who, that's like a big deal for us,
I think Yardley made the point that it was like that Jaime knighting Brienne was better than sex. Like for Brienne, 100%.
That's true. But you could tell with the way that Jaime looked at her, there's something there. There's a connection there. And I have always said that. I said that since the moment that they were in the pit with the bear, that there was a connection there that was, was stronger than love and all that stuff. It's a deeper rooted connection. But to me, that's the greatest scene, because with all the shit that has gone on in the Game of Thrones, the deaths and the underhanded dirty tricks and all that stuff, here is Jaime Lannister, the Kingslayer, Jaime Lannister, knighting Brienne of Tarth, like redeeming himself full circle. Love that scene. To me, that is the best scene in the Game of Thrones for me personally. I loved it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we're going to go into the closing section here. Favorite scene, which Julie already said. Sword rating and any episode 3 predictions we're going to do now. Let's start with Yardley. Favorite scene, sword rating, prediction. Go, sir.
All right, I already said that Brienne getting knighted by Jamie is my favorite scene. My sword rating will be 8 out of 10, and my prediction for the next episode is that their plan goes wrong some way. I don't think the Night King is going to or necessarily have to die in this next episode, but I do think that they're going to need a wild card of some sort to kind of beat him. So we know that we've got to see Melisandre. I think she and the
Yes.
Red Priest show up, and that might be the edge that they have. But one of the main reasons why I think that they're going to need some help or some type of a wild card is I cannot, in good faith, even think that Jon Snow can beat the Night King in a straight up fight. And I'm only basing this on seeing the Night King pick up a weapon twice. And once he killed a dragon, and the other time he came ahead from killing another dragon. So I think that they're going to need some help. So my prediction is we'll probably get a visit from Melisandre at some point in that episode. And quite possibly, maybe Cersei does something crazy and tries to have the Golden Company go up there to kind of finish off what the dead have done. Even though a better strategy would be for her to make sure that she have them available if she needs them. But I definitely think there's going to be a wild card thing next week.
All right, John, go.
I give favorite scene, like agree with Yardley, Brienne being knighted. I give this episode 9 swords out of 10. My prediction for next week, people will die. They're gonna lose. They're gonna have to leave Winterfell and go south. That's pretty much it.
Okay, Trin.
My favorite scene was the kumbaya around the fireplace and knighting Brienne scene as well. I think that I'm on board with that 100%. My sword rating is going to be 9 out of 10. I'm given this really high sword rating for myself because they tied up a lot of loose ends. They closed the loop on so many storylines and so many story arcs. And if we lost a lot of people next episode, which we will, then there's closure already. There was so much closure in this episode. My predictions, I'm on complete agreement with Yardley as far as they've already set up Melisandre to come back with the Red Army. They've also already set up Yara conveniently located, I think she's on the East Coast, so she's not really super close to where they would try to get on a ship. But we do have that sort of backup plan with Yara. And yeah, so we're going to see a ton of people die at Winterfell. And then we're going to see the survivors egress south somewhere.
All right, Julie, we know your favorite scene. Just give me your quick prediction and your sword rating because I still have to shut down the live and only have
So yeah, my sword rating, I'm gonna go with an 8 out of 10. I agree with Trin. A lot of loose ends were tied up, left a lot of more questions on certain things. My prediction is I don't think there's gonna be I think we're getting the battle next week wrong. I don't think there's gonna be as much death from the people we think as we think. Do you get what I'm saying? Like, yeah. I think we might be a little off on that one, but I totally agree. I think they're setting up Melisandre to come back in with the Red Priests beautifully. I would love to see that. I think that would be fantastic. But yeah, I don't think it's going to be as bad as I think we think it's going to be. I think the worst part, I think they're going to be able to retreat. And I think the worst part comes in King's Landing toward the back end of the season here.
All right, I have to be quick because I have announcements to make because I'm almost out of time on the live stream. 8 swords out of 10, and my predictions, well, I don't have time, so we'll have to worry about that next time. I just want to tell everyone we're not going to be doing a live stream on Get Vocal next week. It's going to be only on BehindTheIronThrone.tv. So the next episode, our live show will be BehindTheIronThrone.tv, our YouTube channel. That being said, we're going to be doing it Sunday night right after the episode, sometime that evening. I want to thank everyone for joining us live on Periscope, on YouTube, on Facebook, on Get Vocal, and we'll all be here again live next time, the following week, not this one, but the following. So I want to thank you guys so much for being here on the live show. I'm going to try to get you guys in here live and do a after show or something next time. I'm going to try. I really promise we'll try to get this a little bit shorter. We're so close. Thank you guys so much for being here. We'll see you next time for another great adventure with Behind the Iron Throne. See you guys next time.
Bye, guys.
See you guys. I'm out to work right now.